Alright, I've got another one for you guys. This is a Berserker build, so not core. You do need to have Heart of Thorns to have access to Berserker. But the new Secrets, or Visions of Eternity, I should say, sorry, Visions of Eternity expansion, put out a relic called the Relic of the Biomancer. And what that does is it heals you whenever you apply bleeding to an enemy. Conditions Berserker has always been one of the kings of bleeding application with your sword. So the fact that you get a bunch of extra healing off the biomancer relic just makes this build even stronger than it was. So for open world solo stuff, just really nice relic to have. I'm just going to showcase this on the champion wyvern here. This is pre-recorded. I just did this a second ago. Basically what this build has is pretty much everything. It has tons of stability, mobility, decent damage, like 15 to 16k-ish DPS, completely raw, no food, no additional buffs, just what the class itself provides. So like, you know, if you optimize it with food and vulnerability and other party buffs and stuff, you can definitely do a lot more damage than that on Celestial Gear. So the reason why I went with Celestial Gear is because it is kind of an all-around set. A lot of guides for open world will recommend Celestial Gear. Also, when you boost a character, you're given a full set of Celestial, so it's easy to obtain in that sense. It is expensive if you are trying to get it naturally through the trading post or crafting it, but if you've got a boost or you just bought the expansion or something, you can rock that and you can instantly have access to this build. So, Celestial stats. It's got crowd control. It has pretty much everything you could want, guys. The only thing that it doesn't have is like permanent swiftness, permanent protection. If we had protection, we would be kind of just like an insanely immortal god, which you kind of already are, but like even more so. As you can see here, the wing buffets, I have access to all this sorts of stability. So I can basically kind of ignore mechanics, heal myself through damage. It's a really cool, fun, fast-paced build that kind of has the best of everything. So this wyvern's going to go down here, and I will showcase to you guys what I'm actually rocking in terms of like relics and runes and utility options and things like that with the traits. So here it goes down. Let's pause this here. Let's rock back on over to Guild Wars 2, and let's showcase what things are happening here. So as I said before, it is Celestial Gear. I am rocking Ascended set. You guys do not need that. The exotic versions of stuff is going to be just fine, only slightly worse, not very much. You'll still be able to do what I do in your exotic gear. As for the relics, or sorry, not the relics, the sigils, I am doing Sigil of Strength, which is part of our proc synergies for one of our trait lines we'll get to in a second. Sigil of Accuracy for more critical strike chance. This is kind of up for debate. There's lots of different things you could do. And I'm doing main hand, offhand style for swapping, because there are some things you're going to want to be weapon swapping for. There are other sigils you could take that are giving you weapon swapping procs. So if you want to try testing, which I've been doing, I recommend doing this and trying some weapon swapping testing on that. But that's the reason why I've got one sword here, just so that you guys aren't confused. As for the rune, I am running Traveler. It's not a great set, but it kind of does what we need it to do here. All stats is good, especially with the Celestial set. Boon duration is good because we are trying to be an offensive support or an offensive DPS build. So we are going to be applying quickness to our party and fury and might to our party. So we want to have some boon duration through our Celestial stats, and the Traveler helps with that as well. And then because we don't have our own swiftness, the 25% movement speed is nice. You don't need to run this rune. There's tons of other options, more aggressive options, more defensive options, lots of things you could do, but this is just what I have done right now, what I'm testing right now. That pretty much covers that. As for the biomancer relic itself, I kind of already said it, but I'll just show what it says to you guys. Heal yourself when you inflict a bleeding or poison on a foe. So every single time we bleed something, no internal cooldown, we gain this healing buff. So, trait lines. Arms, Strength, Berserker. Alright, Arms is all about conditions, Strength is all about might, Berserker is all about quickness and some synergies with burning and things like that. So, we have additional critical strike chance from Fury, gaining Fury on weapon swap, gain expertise based on your precision, so just more condition duration. I think we're at like 93 or something. Yeah, 93.4 additional duration on our bleeds and our burns. Really, really nice. Condition damage, when you have Fury, which we're always going to have Fury, you have increased chance to critically strike against bleeding foes. Another 5% critical strike chance there. Gain expertise, so just more expertise, guys. Gain condition damage while wielding a sword. We're always going to be wielding a sword for the most part. Sword skills gain reduced recharge. Really, really, really nice. Then you have a chance to inflict bleeding on critical hits. And bleeds you apply last longer, part of why we have such long bleeding duration. This also obviously will proc our biomancer relic. Attack speed is increased when wielding a main hand weapon in your offhand. What does that mean? That means like any weapon that can be wielded in both your main and your offhand is going to proc this. So like daggers, swords, axes, maces on warrior. There might be one I'm missing, but I think that's it. Heal when you critically strike a foe while wielding a main hand weapon, and then in your offhand, and then this heal is increased when critically striking a bleeding foe. Our foes are always going to be bleeding. We're going to be critically striking all the time, so we're going to gain a decent amount of both damage and survivability based off of this trait alone. Okay, damage foes under your dodge roll, gain might for each foe struck with this attack, kind of whatever. This is kind of an important one for soloing. Brave Stride is really important because you get stability every time you do what's called a movement skill. What does that mean? A movement skill is any ability that physically moves your character from one place to another. So your Savage Leap qualifies as a movement ability, your Sundering Leap, your Stomp, your Headbutt even counts as a movement ability. There's other ones you can take, but that's why I'm taking the utilities that I'm taking, or part of why, because of Brave Stride. You can change this up. You don't need the stability, whatever. You can change your utilities around, but that's why I'm doing that. Burst skills restore endurance on hit. Forceful Greatsword. We're not using a Greatsword, but the rest of it we do actually benefit from. Gain power and chance to gain might on critical strike, so it's just more might generation and a flat 120 power. That's the only part of this we actually gain from. Might applied to you grants more power. Fine, we'll take it. An additional 5% critical strike chance. Cool. That's a total of 15 so far from just random passives. Deep Strikes, Pinnacle of Strength, and Furious Burst. And then Might makes right. Gain health and endurance whenever you apply Might to yourself. So, we have the dual wielding healing proc. We have the Might makes right healing proc. We have the biomancer healing proc. So tons of little things that stack up to make us so survivable, and we're able to solo that wyvern like you guys saw. Also, you actually gain endurance when you apply Might to yourself as well. So more dodging. Okay, Berserker. This is just showcasing what your primal burst skills are based off of which weapon you're talking about, and then also saying you get some quickness and super speed when you enter Berserk mode. Smash Brawler, when you hit a primal burst skill, which is just your Berserker versions of your bursts, extend the duration of your Berserk. Very, very good. We're able to upkeep permanent Berserk mode as long as you're being diligent about this. And if you're in a group that has Alacrity, it's even easier. So permanent Berserker uptime, plus we gain critical strike chance 15% passively in Berserk mode. So that's a 30% additional critical strike chance when you're in Berserk mode across all of our passives together. So you actually have a lot of critical strike chance without having to go like Assassins or Berserker gear. Lots of critical strike chance there. Gain a burst of speed when entering Berserk mode. Cool. That's Fury, Super Speed, and Quickness on that one. Heat the Soul. This makes us a offensive support. Grant boons to nearby allies when you hit an enemy with a burst skill. All of the concentration and boon duration uptime that we have from our runes and our stats lets us upkeep these boons super, super easy on everyone in our party. So that's why we have the supportive quality to us right there. Berserk mode increases power and condition damage. A lot of power. 300 is a big trait bonus. And then condition damage 150, just some nice passive bonus for being a Berserker. And then King of Fires. I haven't tested Bloody Roar for an additional 10% physical damage increase, but I just think that King of Fires is more. And I like the theme of being like a burning warrior, so all the bleeds and burns, etc. Just kind of synergizes with the theme of the build, and it adds some damage to us as well. So that's what I would recommend for you guys. So those are the traits there. The last thing I'll cover is the utility skills, obviously. Blood Reckoning is a really good one. It gives you a 5-second period of healing based off of your damage. We're doing a lot of damage, so we're doing a lot of healing. Really, really nice. If you're concerned with conditions, you're going to want to take Mending. That's the other heal that I think is actually pretty good you could take. All three of these utilities are definitely up for debate. In the showcase, I was actually running with Shattering Blow for some additional stability and Bleeding for our biomancer proc. Plus it's a rage skill, which gives us more duration increase on our berserker mode for easier berserker mode upkeep. When you're running this, you basically have stability on every single ability because of our Brave Stride trait from our talents here, giving us stability on movement skills. So movement skill here, stability here, movement skill here, movement skill here, movement skill here. So tons of stability access just through that trait alone, which is just a cool thing about Shattering Blow, just making it so you have like basically all your abilities having stability on them. Kind of nice. I was fiddling around with stuff, and I've been thinking that like Shake It Off might be what I recommend to you guys for a lot of situations, just because it's another stun break and it removes conditions, which can be a pain point of the build. If you really need help, you can take both Mending and Shake It Off. Not a terrible idea, but just some choices to be made there for sure. The other two, again, are kind of flexible. You can sort of take whatever you feel like you need to. Headbutt, I think, is really important. I think it's the best solo elite. The Defiance break bar is really important for a lot of the expansion content. It's another stun break. It's a movement skill for that Brave Stride trait again. It also maxes out your adrenaline instantly. As long as you hit an enemy with this ability, you're going to go to full 3 bars of adrenaline. You're going to instantly be able to proc your Berserk mode and get yourself rolling. So I think Headbutt is just a no-brainer. But all of the utility, or all the elites are actually pretty good. So they all have their niches, and you can fiddle around with them in other game modes for sure. Alright guys, that's the build. Try to make this one a quicker one as opposed to my other videos. Definitely get out there and try it. Run maybe like Vipers if you want to go in raids, DPS mode or something. Do some other, give the build itself a try, but like try some other gear sets out too. Hope you guys enjoyed. Catch you guys on the next one. Peace.